Greetings! Welcome to the devlog for hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. We're going to start off as always with a quick sound check. Make sure your speakers aren't up too high. Wonderful. So what have we got for you this week? Well, I've been mostly working on continuing to tune Take and Hold, but as always, I've got a new toy for you folks, mainly to get you all to download the latest alpha so I can have you test Take and Hold changes. So let's take a look at what it is. It's actually a bit of surprise it isn't in yet, but I just didn't get around until now, which is finally the Mac-10, the larger sibling of the Mac-11. This is in 45 ACP. We can see it is quite a chonker here compared to, say, one of our handguns. Pull that bolt back. Put it on semi first. Put it on full. Let's try to control it like this. That definitely wants to go into the ceiling like that. So let's see if we can fix that a bit. Pulling its stock out. This definitely helps, and we can grab this cloth foregrip here. There we go. That's a bit better. But coming with this, I actually have an exciting new attachment feature, which is specific to the muzzle attachment type called a Shroud. Before this update, the only one in the game was the Vector 45 Shroud. I have a new one, which is this absolutely smexy looking one for our Mac-10. This is not a suppressor. It is just a sort of a heat shroud, but what's special about this is because of the fact that these don't screw on the way a suppressor does, I was able to do something different in the way these are gripped, which is that this actually functions like a foregrip and can be grabbed as such for stability when firing. And what's exciting about this is that this means that the moment we add a pistol stock into the situation, this allows us to make a foregrip stabilized carbine out of any handgun. So if we pop that on there, that accepts a muzzle attachment and a stock attachment. So I can go like that. I can grab this fore here. Obviously, you could stabilize it before by just having your hand close here, but obviously the virtual stock does behave a little differently when we actually have a grabbed fore instead of just proximity stabilization from having the controllers next to each other. Wonderful. So I hope, especially those of you who love kitting out various guns with all sorts of attachments, enjoy the possibilities that attachment brings, and that the Vector 45 Shroud is now also useful. Oop, that would be what happens when you fire your gun without screwing on your suppressor. You just blow it right off. Whoops! Let's try this again. Wonderful. Oh, I absolutely love the sound of this suppressed. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and jump over to Take and Hold briefly for the one visual change that I really want to show you folks that I think a number of you will really like. Actually, I lied. We have two visual changes, just a little minor one. I managed to actually get some portraits in for our three new characters. There's Grayson, there's Calico, and there's Ori. Looking great. Anywho, let's jump into a run. I'll just do it with you know what? I'll do it with Calico. And yeah, I will show you the other thing that has been added. So, I'm in take and hold, I'm playing along, and I get to a supply point, you'll notice there is now this extra button beneath each of our 3 choices. What this button is a 1 token reroll we can use to reroll the category that has generated on our item spawner, still within the bounds of what can appear for the hold level we're on. But in this case here, this is our pocket pistol. I don't want that. I want another single action revolver. So I'm going to click this and re-roll that into the revolver pool. It will always change if it is available. 4, 6. And in fact, it looks like we have yet another interface bug. Going back to... Oh, there we go. That got it to reappear. I've got to, change that. But as you can see, when it actually is functioning, I'll just go ahead and blow my last one here. Boop. In that case, it re-rolled it to a stock. The cost doesn't escalate or anything like that, but clearly this is a situation where gambling can get you into trouble, at least until you're aware of all the things that can show up at a given hold phase for you. So that is now present. You'll also notice a new icon. Actually, no, I think this one was already in here. You'll notice now that power-up icons will have a new set of symbols in there, which I will talk about in a second. So I'm actually going to jump out of VR right now because most of what I have to talk about is subtle changes to take and hold that I can't really show off easily visually, but you should definitely be aware of. So let's go over that now. Yup. So now that we're out of VR, let's jump right into our changes list. So got some big ones. First off, patrols now regenerate during the take phase. Instead of it being the case where, based upon which sort of hold number you're at, a certain number of patrols spawn immediately right at the beginning, only up to 1 spawns. And over the course of the take phase, based upon where you are in the map and how long it's been since a patrol has spawned, up to some designated spawn cap, another patrol will spawn somewhere in the level. So this should hopefully prevent, like, I know a lot of folks just enjoy sort of running around the level, you know, fighting them during that sort of phase, but I also want to make it so that when you're playing limited ammo and possibly jumping back and forth between supply points, that you never feel truly safe, and so that you have to sort of always be listening and making sure that you're not, say, just like running around a corner without sort of like at least slightly peeking at first or what have you. What else? Ammo classes now spawn correctly relative to what's called the era and the set for the given take and hold character. So this means that like plus P 9mm ammo doesn't spawn anymore for Grayson, but it also means that things like Freedom Fetty don't spawn for Ori. So only the quote-unquote serious modern shotgun ammunitions actually spawn for Ori. What else? I showed you the object constructor reroll. I have shifted the availability of some firearms to be earlier and a few shifted later for the given new characters. In general, trying to both balance things, but also make sure that there's enough of a variety of equipment to make it enjoyable, especially in that first hold. What else? As I think I mentioned, there's a new set of power-up pools. There's sort of there's a healing set. There's a sort of attacking or offense-related set that has like the damage boost and infinite ammo in it. There's a defensive set that has ghost and invincibility, and there's a sort of melee set that right now just has muscle meat in it. And you'll notice they have different prices because I'm trying to encourage folks to actually buy and use the power-ups a little more. What else? I have very heavily tweaked the difficulty progression for both the Wild West and the World War II progressions. I've made them more even, more intentional. They still get quite challenging. They just don't go like 1-2 cliff sort of thing. And that's just involving just the number of enemies who spawn. The big change has been the population cap. Because before, even in early holds, if you took too long to shoot out the targets, you could have 6 agents in there at once, which just meant sort of instant failure. So that has become a smoother difficulty curve. I have also nerfed some of the advanced targets in preparation for some changes next week where I'm going to be adding in a new target type or two. But hardened encryption has been nerfed. I've reduced the amount of damage each sort of phase that the target takes to sort of go from one state to another by about 40%. And I have reduced the number of sub-targets on swarm encryption from 6 to 4. And have made their arrangement a little more asymmetric. What else? I changed the refire rates on some of the SOSIG Wild West firearms so that they actually fire their single action revolvers about as fast as you do instead of as fast as like a double action revolver. So that feels a little more fair. Oh, Picatinny sights now spawn with... They won't, not right in the beginning case, because I still have to figure that out, but for guns that spawn sort of naked onto the plinth, they now spawn with a Picatinny sight if they don't have any iron sights. If I missed any guns that should be having a sight spawn with them and don't, as I said, not out of a case, but that just spawn naked on the spawner, let me know. I'll get the correct spawning in the case working next week, because it's complicated, but it spawns in a completely different way because it's a container. One change that I made both to the Wild West and the World War II progression is I've given you a little more warm-up time in between hold phases before bots start spawning. So let's say you just shot out all the static encryption in the first encryption wave. Before enemies start spawning for the second wave, even though it'll start analyzing, enemies will take about 5 seconds longer to start spawning, which should hopefully give you a little more opportunity to reload shotguns and single action revolvers. And I slightly compressed that time, that bonus time, towards the end of the progression. So that should hopefully, in certain ways, even out the difficulty of using certain weapons in the sort of multi-encryption phase holds. I have, and this is a provisional change, because a number of people have really complained about headshot or head link damage for the SOSIGs. I have increased the amount of damage they take to that top link by about 25%. Let me know what you think of this change. Cool, so those are the changes. As for fixes, it's just a whole bunch of little stuff. I won't enumerate them all here, but they're available in the changelog, in the Reddit posts with this devlog, and in the Steam forum announcement for it. But thank you to everyone who's been posting bug reports in the bug report section of the Steam forum. Even if I don't respond to you, either when you post or when I fix it, I read them all. I track them all as best as I'm able, and get to them when I can and when it's convenient. And I got a list of about a dozen of them this week that I'm super happy to have gotten in there. So anywho, I hope you all have a ton of fun with this alpha, both playing with the new toy and trying out these progressions. Keep giving me feedback. It's been really great getting the super detailed feedback from a bunch of you, and where you, especially if you run a given progression a bunch of times and find a specific moment in the 5-hold curve that you're like, something feels wrong here, let me know what you think. So yeah, hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.